Okay, and then there's David, who's in Canada. So David, I'm just doing the introductions and then I'm gonna go, unfortunately.
All right, sounds
So
good.
David is our great friend. David, when did I meet you? 2020, 2019, something like that?
It's all a bit of a blur, but around there, yeah.
Around there. So David's kids are also in our metaverse community as well as Keith's kids. So let's see, how can I make it? Okay, so David's kids are Battle Stevie and Mr. Cat, who Battle Stevie helped Keith's son Jason hit 100 subscribers on.
Oh,
Oh, nice. Yeah, very
yes.
cool.
I'll make
We-
that.
That
We've
is
had
cool.
we've had some big milestone YouTube subscriber milestones in the Genieverse.
Yeah.
That's
And
fantastic.
everybody hit their milestone, which I thought was crazy. I don't even think that they all collaborated, but everyone still hit. Anywho, I will now introduce myself and introduce what we're doing, and then I will go, unfortunately, because I really want to ear hustle in this conversation. But thank you all for joining. And look, we have a new friend. Is it Maxine? Am I saying that right?
Correct. That's Maxine.
Hello, Maxine. Welcome. Welcome to the conversation. My name is Karima Akila. I am the founder of the Genius School and the Genie DAO, which is our Web3 arm, where we bring solution in a Web3 focus. The reason for this conversation is that when I looked at the unschooling landscape, I saw some folks that were missing. And the voice that was missing was the voice of the dad, a consistent voice of the dad. And I wanted to carve out space where your voices were heard. And so that's what tonight is all about. This is our second one. I'm really excited that you guys are here. And my only request is that you make this a safe space for you guys to unpack whatever there is to be unpacked, that you get the coaching or not coaching, the support that you may need, and that you form community by following up with each other afterwards, definitely by joining our Genie community on Mighty Networks if you're not already there, and that this becomes something that you guys own, okay? So that being said, anything else that you need from me? Oh, wait a minute. How can I not introduce my husband? That handsome chocolate dude right up there. Yeah, Cody, that's my boo thing.
You always save the best for last, with a little dramatic pause for emphasis. Yeah.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that right there, friend. So yes, Cody is my ride or die. He is the boots to the ground to my visionary brain. And so that's what makes us a unique dynamic duo, super twins activate. So I'm gonna go, and babe, if you need me, just text me, holler down the steps, and I'm out. Do you need anything from me before I go? Need me to say anything else?
No, I think that's cool. Maybe on the wrap up, and definitely talking more about deschooling and parenting coaching. At the end, we may circle back to that.
All right. Well, you just text me. Yeah, it's wind down Wednesday, so I'm gonna go open that.
Pour my glass. Basically, she's pretty much set up the premises of what our plans are here. We've done this conversation one time before, and it was phenomenal, and wanted to get the opportunity and leave space to continue the conversation, and obviously give new dads as they come in an opportunity to share as well. We are by far, we're not sitting here to tell you we're experts or have answers to anything. Let's start from that premise. I and David can give you our background. I am a dad of currently 1 biological and 6 bonus kids that Kareem and I have together. 5 out of her 6 have, well, I say 4 out of 6 have been completely unschooled. My biological son totally through the system, public school and private school. So it's a learning curve for me as well, but I'm with somewhat of an expert who's still learning, and we're all growing in the same space. So I have to put the premise that there is no right or wrong answers in this conversation. It is more about building community. It's more about giving you support and then pointing you in directions where you can get some of those coaching ideas, some things that we have done and have worked in the past that may or may not work for you. And I think that's the real unique part of this is what works for your household is what works for your household. But having the unique conversation with men, particularly dads, is a little different. Not only what Karima was saying that dads' voices were missing, we felt that even a lot of times dads are feeling like they're not being heard. So it's not only giving the opportunity to be heard, but also making sure that voice is included in the overall process. David, feel free, introduce yourself and you give your background as well. I'm talking about David in Canada. I do think we got to specify.
Yeah, thank you. David from Canada here. So I have twin 11-year-olds. They are homeschooled, unschooled. It happened at the start of COVID, the whole dynamic of schools shutting down and opening up and masks and the whole 9 yards. I just didn't think it was necessary or really beneficial to have them deal with that as a part of their life. And so we just decided at that point, and to be clear, we had never thought that we would ever do the homeschooling thing, my wife and I, never mind now have it be our new normal, as it were. And it was an interesting journey for us, for sure. And we'll get into, I'm sure, a little bit of that, that deprogramming component, that deschooling, decolonizing of my dad in the back of my head going, this is how you learn, and ruling with a bit of a tyrannical iron fist, and just realizing there was an aha moment for me, because in my business, I'm an entrepreneur. I run my own consulting practice. I have been with my wife for the last 14 years. She's now pursuing her art career. But in my business, I'm challenging people to break paradigms, to remove old systems and enable like a new world of communicating and empowering business in general, culture in particular. And here I am in my own home going, this is how we do it. This is how it's been done. This is how we will continue to do it. And I'm like, what? But this is not how I do things. And that really became an aha moment for me. And it was at that point where I started to explore, but like, there's got to be something else. There's got to be a different way. And I ended up listening to an episode of Honey, I'm Homeschooling the Kids, a podcast. She's based out of Edmonton, I believe. So here in Calgary, here in Alberta, Canada. And she had Karima on the episode, and that was an eye opener, to say the least. It really opened that whole world of what was possible, and really not much different than what I would have done in my own business anyways. So we're in that process of figuring it out, and yeah, lots of concern and worry, wondering, am I making the right decision? And then being reminded at these incremental moments is like, oh wow, they're like doing stuff, they're making progress, they're excited about what it is that they are building and creating. And yeah, it's an ongoing game for sure.
Thanks, David. And this by far is not set up to be a lecture of any sort. This is a discussion. We are open to hearing your voices, your concerns. And I purposely didn't have a real skeleton of a outline for this discussion, but it really is dictated by what you guys want to talk about and how you're feeling and what's missing. That's the biggest piece. What's missing for you as a dad in this new world of unschooling? And then how do we be what's missing? How do you fill that gap? So I want to open up the floor to you guys, especially the ones who are newer with Keith and Maxine. I'm not sure of your kids or where they are in the mix. We got introductions earlier. Abdul was here with us in the last one. Thank you for coming back, Abdul. And we know his kids are part of the metaverse as well, as his wife is also a part of the mix with Karima and learning to be a director as well. But Maxime, if I could start with you, give us a little background. Is your kids a part of the metaverse or the Genieverse, as we're calling it actually?
No, mine's too young. I have
Okay, well, tell us what
21-month-old.
year.
Yeah, I have a 21-month-old. And we've been kind of unschooling since basically before she was born, right before she was born. We I mean, obviously we had a child in the midst of the pandemic. And we made the decision in the middle of the pandemic. We're like, all right, pick a bad time to have a child. Let's have a child right now. But I think we were already feeling like we needed to do something different. I think that's part of the reason we held off on having a child. It's like we wanted to be ready ourselves, but we also wanted something different. We both did not enjoy, we enjoyed our childhood, but like we didn't enjoy the way we were parented. We think there was another way, a better way. And I feel like, especially for me, I felt like my parents were trying to do something different. They thought of something different, but like they were like, but this is how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, we've been reading a lot of stuff and experiencing a lot of stuff. We've moved a lot, but we found one book, Raising Free People,
Yes.
and we were like, that's it. That's exactly what we've been looking for. And I think we had just got pregnant at that time, and we were like, we got this. If somebody out there is doing this, then we can do this.
So do know that Akilah Richards is a friend.
Yeah, exactly. I
And
just met her a couple weeks ago, actually. So it was. I let her know.
we had her partner on, Chris, on our last conversation as well. So welcome. Good.
Thank you.
Keith, I know you're new to the mix with your family in the Genieverse. How's it going for you?
That's a great question. I'm still in that early phase where I'm still very uneasy about things. I have 5 kids. 3 of them are still at home, and they are in the metaverse, or the Genieverse, I should say, with part of this learning. But my older 2 kids were private school, Christian school, already graduated college. So I'm very familiar with the current educational system. But when my wife and I got married about 15 years ago, she was very adamant about educating in the home. So our kids have never been in public school. They did do a little Montessori school and preschool, but that was it. After that, she took it upon herself, and with my help, hey, we're going to homeschool them. And they've definitely thrived. They thrived in the Montessori area, and they've thrived at home. But we did reach a point where, we became kind of stagnant on it. It was, we were eclectic in our curriculum, tried different things, and it was just kind of getting stale. And my 13-year-old, who would be a freshman in high school next fall, has developed a desire to play football like his dad. So he wants to go to the high school nearest us where I actually coach and be a homeschool student and go there. So for me, it was getting pulled back into that normal educational system. I'm very comfortable always doing homeschool, but now this Genieverse thing, I'm like, okay, is he still going to be prepared? And that's where my uneasiness goes. I've tried to say, okay, I'm going to let it go a little bit, gentlemen. We were at dinner tonight, and I said, you know what, this is an added expense upon the family, and we're willing to invest in you guys to give you this freedom to discover what you really want to learn. I just need to see some progress. And I think that's where I need you guys, as guys who've been through this before or are going through it, to say, what is a timeline? I mean, as an athlete, everything was scheduled. There was a timeline for everything. I'm very time conscious in my life. I hate to be late. I'm always arriving early. That was just in my DNA. And to step back and say, okay, guys, go figure out what you want to learn, and then me not be looking over their shoulder to make sure, hey, you're not just playing, you're actually you're learning something as well. That's where I'm probably struggling right now early in this. I'm trying to stay back and let them do their thing, because we're doing that transition from, for example, their math they were doing. I don't know if you ever heard of teaching textbooks. They're doing their teaching textbooks. When we started this, I said, okay, I've paid for the year. It doesn't end until August. So it's up to you guys to figure out when you're going to get it done. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to schedule, but we did start this. So let's finish this before we go full-fledged into the Genieverse. And it's been killing me not to be checking them every day or every week to say, okay, you had 30 more assignments to go. Have you made any progress upon that? Especially my 13-year-old, because he's a procrastinator. And I don't want to, I'm concerned that, we get to August 1st and he's got 30 days and now he's got 45 Algebra 2 assignments to try to cram down his throat while we're in the middle of football practice and that kind of thing, when I'm in the middle of my heavy season coaching. And so I'm very uneasy right now, because maybe it's a lack of control. Maybe that is a lack of control over what's going on. And my heart is, I just want to make sure my young men are prepared to excel in this world, to live out their dreams and be able to accomplish the things they want to accomplish. So
Amen.
Long story short, there you go.
No, that's fine, and we appreciate you sharing. And first of all, nothing you said is unusual. Nothing you said,
Sure.
not what we've all heard before. So don't think that's just a you thing. The only two things that I'll point out, and David, feel free to chime in. The two things is, be careful of not measuring progress by your level of what progress and or success is.
Okay.
I think you really have to be careful to redefine what that is for your children. And
Okay.
what you may view as progress may not necessarily be the progress that they've actually made.
Okay.
That there is a learning. I love Karima's, one of the scenarios she always poses is, teaching it. Well, I'm gonna get it wrong. I knew soon I'll say it. But what is it? Teaching is to eating, is cooking is to, or teaching is to learn.
Okay.
Cooking is to eating. You can cook all day. You can set up all the things you want to out there. But if they're not ready to learn it, you're forcing it. And is it really even taking hold? Is it even really worth it if they're not into the learning process? And no matter, there's been statistics for days. There's been kids that learned how to read when they were 4 years old.
Yep.
There was absolutely no indication that put them ahead in college. There was no indication of how that showed up for them in their career and in their lives. So sometimes we look at, they're learning this stuff and they're great, but the bigger picture is what I'm always concerned with. How do they fit into society? How are their character building? How are the other things that matter in real life? You learning this math, but if you can't put 2 quarters together to make 50 cents, what does it matter? It's the real life stuff to me that becomes a larger implication of how they're fitting into society. But those are the 2 areas I'd say for you to really be careful about your measurement of success and progress. But go ahead, Dave.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally echo everything that you are concerned about, Keith. I am also an avid protector of time, and there's only so much of it. In fact, if it's our most finite resource, if you really think about it, we never get it back. Yep. And same thing goes with some system and structure. I'm a hybrid, bit of a unicorn in that I love to be creative. I love to explore. I love to experiment. And I also use a lot of system and structure to support me in that process. And so while while there is a tendency to feel like we have to completely let go of any sort of accountability around what's going on, I would, and this is a balancing act, of course, because sometimes it's 90-10, sometimes it's 60-40, but it is really it's on me to notice and see how that's going. And I put systems in place. There are structures for accountability to be in contemplation and reflection around what you've done through your day, so that it doesn't just turn into a bunch of things that you've done. There's intention behind it. There was a reason for the learning, for the doing. There was a learning inside of it. And did you pull that out? What can you tell me about what it is that you've done beyond just the actual thing that you did? Like, give me more, take me deeper. And I think that sort of critical thinking is, if that's the only thing that they're learning, and this is the thing that I'm constantly coaching myself on, because sometimes I'm looking, they're over there in the corner. They're like right. We're all in the same area. My wife's studio is behind my monitors here. I'm here, and the kids are in the corner over there. So I look over and I see, looks like they're playing a game. They are playing a game, but there is other things that they're doing. And when we start to have the conversation around what is it that you're doing, and why did you do that? And what do you think is valuable in having done that thing? Well, is there a way that this might apply in your life in the future? And now, granted, they're 11 years old, and so some of that critical thinking might not necessarily be where my expectation of it is. How, again, to Cody's point, it's like measuring progress from my lens of the world is not their lens of the world. And so the questions to ask, and the listening on my side, not to be listening for what I think success is, but rather listening for their success and how they're speaking to it. A prime example is Diego, my son. He's curious inside of the Roblox studio. So he's built a handful of video games already. When I look at his library of projects, I'm like, you built all these? Like there's probably 20 of them. And he was challenged by something. There was something that blocked him, and he wasn't making any progress. I'm like, well, nobody's going to get you the answer. If you want to finish this game, if you want this mechanism, there's this block, this instance of this object that needed to move in the video game environment, you got to figure that out. And you're, the only way you're going to figure that out is by looking at other sources of information, and maybe you'll be able to bridge the gap, connect the dots, because you don't actually know what the problem is. So how do you look for it? How do you search for the problem if you don't know what it is? And I had already shared a bunch of resources, recommended videos to watch based on the script that he's learning. And so he went and he watched those, and serendipitously, by coincidence, perfect timing, whatever you want to call it, he managed to figure out the disconnect between what he watched, the tutorial that had him do this thing that didn't work, and what was missing. And that was like, that was a huge achievement. Right? When I look at that, right. And when I look at his reaction to that as well, it's like, wow, I figured this out. And that was the great little anchor, the reminder of like, yep, it might not seem like what I would be doing, and that it's progress, but man, is it progress? And it's a progress in a completely different future. Like the future that they're navigating inside of, they need to be able to navigate all of these technology tools and environments, and for me, maybe not so much, but for them, it becomes their new way of interacting and learning and building and creating. And so giving them permission, freedom to explore that is always an important rule of thumb for me, while keeping it inside of a structure for reflection and accountability. I'm balancing those two worlds.
I think, David, that's a great story, and I'm waiting for that kind of moment. That's all I need. I'm a critical thinker. I believe in it wholeheartedly, and that's the thing. As a high school football coach, I'm shocked at the lack of ability of these kids to critically think through any problem that comes their way. I mean, a dumb example is I coach offensive line, the big guys, and we had to hop a 4-foot fence to get on the field yesterday. Now I'm 55 years old, got a replaced knee, got a bad knee, a bad back. I'm over the fence in one try. And I had 3 or 4 kids that couldn't get over the fence and couldn't figure out in their mind how to step on a bolt that was halfway up to hoist themselves over.
Right.
I mean, it's shocking to me. So in my own children, I've got 2 that I'm not worried about. My littlest one and my 12-year-old. I think they're into it. I see progress already. It's my 13-year-old, the procrastinator, that will, when I was talking about the math, that will just wait and not do anything. And you try to have discussions and he wants to joke about it. And I'm like, I just want you to be able to solve a problem. Think about it quickly. Work your way through it. I'm not going to tell you the answer. And all I'm going to do if I don't know is I'm going to go research the problem and see if somebody else is solving. They don't even do that step. And that's what scares me about this freedom. Once I see that moment where he hits a problem and he works through it, I'll be so comfortable to say, okay, that's the skill set I want you to have. You can apply that to everything you're going to face in life. What you can't do is see a mountain in front of you and say, okay, I can't climb it, and walk away, turn around and go back where you came. And that's what I see too much. Not just in my own kids, that's a generalization of youth today that I'm interacting with, not all of them. I just want to see my son who's like, okay, all my boys, I want to see them have that skill. You face a problem, okay, it's not the end of the world, something breaks, whatever it may be. You're designing a game, you're doing my son's YouTube channel, you're doing a video, and the microphone wasn't working. I'm like, what did you try to fix it? Well, I came and got you. Well, that's not the answer, son. What did you try before you came and got me? That's what I'm trying to build. That's what I was trying to build in them before Genie Eye. And I'm hoping that being around this world with other kids, and I agree with you that the job world, the world they're going to be entering in the next 20 years with AI and all, they need to be doing this. I think this is the right thing for us as parents to do, to expose them to this kind of stuff early so they can master it while they're playing before it becomes a job or a career, and they can develop these skill sets that we never had to have. I'm all for it. At the same time, my feet are just still in this world where it's like, okay, I want to release it, but just give me something that I can say, okay, they're on the right track. That's all.
So Keith, I do have one piece of, I guess, a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
With your 13-year-old, I would wager there are arenas where critical thought, his version of critical, not your version of critical thought, his version of critical thought comes in quite naturally, lockstep, in enabling him to move through whatever it is that he's doing. And to observe, to just spend a bit more time observing what those things are for him. Karima talks all about, our child's genius, right?
Yep.
Each of us are uniquely flavored. We've got a genetic code that's got a predisposition for something very specific. And I would be surprised, I bet you would be surprised at just how much critical thought he's already doing. It just doesn't happen to be in the arenas that you feel are high priority. Just something to observe as you're looking at what he's doing in life.
I'm going to agree with you, because we talked at dinner tonight and he had a great conversation with Karima today. And from our Sunday dinner, he said, I want to make some money, Dad. I'm like, okay, what are you going to do to make money? And they talked about it today. And his idea came up with hosting games, whether it be in the metaverse or whatever else. He said, if I hosted a game where there's a $20 prize, I get 5 guys or 5 people to come in at $5 each. I can do the prize for 20 and I could keep
Yeah.
5. I'm like, sounds good.
Yeah.
But my wife made a point of saying, well, you do that now. I see when I hear you online with your friends, you are directing everything. And the light bulb did come on to what you were saying, that, okay, maybe he is doing it, but not in the arena that I can see. It has not bled over completely into his life in every particular area, but in some area. And I need to probably stand over him, not stand over him, but kind of observe him in his world where he is in control. Maybe that would give me, I think that's what you're saying, give me that kind of peace of mind, or that reason to take a deep breath and say, okay, it is showing up. It doesn't show up everywhere,
Yeah.
but it's showing up.
And you know what that'll end up doing, right, Keith?
Mhm.
You're going to have to do things that you're not comfortable with in order to operate inside of his environment.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
there's some measure of, it's not just freedom and learning. Here's the other side of the key. There's freedom and failure too.
Oh, absolutely.
And from those failures, he learns, and you have to let that be as well.
Mhm.
That was hard for me.
Oh, it's so hard.
Seeing them, they're gonna fail at something, and it's wrong what they're doing, but letting it be so they learn from it.
Mhm.
At least hard for me as a dad. That is still a hard. So it just piggybacking off of what David was saying, allowing some of this and being uncomfortable in that surrounding is the toughest thing to do.
Okay, I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one out here struggling.
Not at all.
Oh, not at all, my friend.
On a daily basis.
Not at all. It is a journey, my friend, for sure. Abdul, I don't want you to get lost in the conversation. Thanks for coming back. Your kids, I hear them playing all the time. So if you wanted to add some here, or really want to see how you feel your kids are doing in the metaverse. There you go.
That was addressed to me.
Yes, sir.
I'm still on duty.
Okay.
I have one right here. I have 2 in the back.
Nice.
I have one behind me. But they're actually doing pretty great. The progress is excellent. I just want to try to see if I can get more involved in what I can do, to participate. Because I know my wife and Karima, they've been going back and forth with trying to recruit more people to get part of it. I'm actually part of this Morning Mindset Coffee. It's a Morning Mindset meetup. So my wife and we gave a presentation like last week.
Oh, you're Sabrina's husband?
No,
Sabrina?
Jawaria.
No, Jawari.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounded same to what Sabrina's doing. My apologies. Keep going.
So we gave the presentation, and the group was very engaged. But a lot of people are at that crossroad of, trying to get out of traditional education and trying to find a better path that's more not restrictive towards the kids. So a lot of people were open to the homeschooling. And one of my associates in the group, he's already engaged already. So he knows about unschooling, unschooling and decolonization, right? So it was a very profound meeting. So hopefully we can get some members from that. And then the kids, they're on Roblox a lot. So that Roblox world is a totally different world. Right. I actually want to speak to maybe Karima or you, because I'm actually teaching the kids how to engage with e-commerce. Right. So they're about to start their Amazon store and start searching for products, coordinating with people in China using Alibaba. And then we're going to move on to Spotify. So I'm thinking once we get a better hang on it, we could bring that to the group and they can actually open the floor and teach the other kids of how to research and how to get products.
Sounds awesome.
doors. You saying hi?
No, I think it's a great idea. So definitely we'll keep talking as things come along. I know she's always open to the new training for kids as a part of their pillars, as an offering for one of the pillars. So definitely keep us up on that. How do you think the kids are doing though?
I've seen growth, especially with my daughter, and my son. He's much more comfortable with using a computer. I get from that. Just working on him with more of his phonics, so he can do things a little on his own and be a little more confident, right? Because he knows how to access the programs, right? He knows how to maneuver, but it's the fact that taking his time and sounding out the words and not always have to come to me and say, oh, what does this mean? What is this word? What is this word? Because we sit down, we read, he knows how to read, you know. It's just the fact that it's taking your time and sounding out the words and being confident in it, right? Right, so that's one component that I see that he's growing, right? And I'm not trying to put my pressure on him, right? I'm just being more open-minded, right, and seeing their growth. And there's another thing that, because I'm an early bird, right? I wake up early in the morning, like maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm out the house maybe 7, 8 o'clock, and they still in the bed, right? No, I'm not. So, okay, you're not in the bed. My daughter, she's the early bird also. So they still in the bed. And
So-
then my son, he's a night owl, right? And I realized, because I used to work at night, right? So I know how working at night is, especially the wee hours in the morning. He's a night owl, right? So it's like, I don't want to try to force him to be a day person, and that's who he is, right? But the only challenge I see is the fact that I'm tired at night. So try to engage with him at night and keep him active, right? I'm trying to figure out maybe some type of balance or harmony of how that would work, because it's like, okay, you're not tired. And my wife said, you're not tired, but get in the bed, right? You don't have to go to sleep, but get in the bed, right? And he won't sleep till maybe like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. He just up. Because when I wake up, he's up.
Oh, wow.
Because I go to sleep maybe like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock the latest. He's up in the morning, right?
Just
So
doesn't
like,
need much sleep. But I mean, it is also an opportunity where you say you want to see where you can fit in. It may be it's the opportunity where you can engage with him, talk about his day, the things that he's learning, the things that he's doing. Yeah, I hear you. I'm a night owl, so I'm with him. I swing late, so I get it. But I mean, I know that's tough too, trying to swing, the day shifts. But taking that time when you can, to see how his day and engage with him during those time frames, and really discussing some of those things that are meaningful to him, and what those things are sticking out in his day. I'm sure he would love that when Dad gets home. So I get it though. Believe me, when you're tired, you're tired. All right. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else want to share about how things are going and your plans are dealing with unschooling? Or Dave, do you have anything else?
How about the other Dave?
Yeah, tell us about, I know the community, we're familiar with some of the LCs in Philly, but tell us about yours.
Yeah, I mean, I have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old too, so I'm an unschooling dad as well. And but yeah, Philly ALC, we've got about 42 kids between 2 locations. We have like a center city or like a downtown kind of in the building. sort of center where there's between 16 to 20 kids a day. And then we have an outdoor location up in Mount Airy, Germantown at Aubrey Arboretum. And so we have about another 10 to 16 kids 3 days a week up there. So it's a mix of homeschooling families who send their kids to our program, for a few days, or some kids come full time, so it's full time immersion and then self-directed learning. And yeah, so there's all kinds of things happening all week. So agile learning model, we set the week together at the beginning of the week, where if there's things that students need, like want other students to join with them, or need particular space or particular facilitator attention, or it's a trip somewhere, or using resources in some way, we all kind of decide how the week is going to look together, and then we start and just kind of do the week. Yeah.
Those agile tools are great. The Genie School uses the agile tools as well. Definitely set the intentions.
Yeah, so she gets it.
And so we're quite familiar with them as well.
Nice.
And they really do work. It really does help keep things in order. And it makes the kids feel like they're very much a part of planning their week and being a part of their learning process, and not just being dictated to in that way. So I know Karima wants to definitely continue conversation with you as we're building a community in the Philly area, and some ways that she can partner in that way as well. So thanks for joining us, Dave. I want to keep us honest to our hour. We're about, I got 8:47 or so. I know Karima wanted to wrap up things at the end. If you all have anything else, we will continue. I didn't know if you had anything else, Candidate David, this time.
Nothing top of mind. I think there is a real need to for us men to have a regular sounding board to understand and get a sense of what others are doing, right? Especially in this arena, because if anything goes, anything's possible. Well, where do you start? Where do I even begin if I can do absolutely anything? It can be, this is where the system and the structure, some of it really can be beneficial, because it sets a benchmark now, at least to begin from, and to have that sounding board with other fathers that are going through this process and getting a sense of, what we're all doing, like the pragmatic doing, because at the end of the day, this is what's going on, this is our super strength, right? As men, is we're in there, we're in the pragmatic doing of things, and we just get shit done. So what is that for each of us? And there might be some great suggestions, some strategies that we had never even considered, by measure of exploring what other dads are doing. Keith, go ahead, man. You said you had a question.
Yeah, just a quick question. I can definitely see how this is great for my kids who lean toward artistic stuff, graphic arts, whatever. Do any of you guys have kids that love athletics? And how does Unschooling Genii partner with that athletic lifestyle if they want to be a football player, a basketball player, a baseball player, and the skills they learn in that, how do they carry it over? Do you guys have any thoughts or advice on that? And I'll mute my.
I don't personally. We're not very sports. I was never really raised in the sports arena of any sort, and played it recreationally, but never professionally. So unfortunately, I don't have any feedback on that.
Well, I could add, my son, he's very athletic. He likes track. He likes soccer. Now he's into gaming. So we just have a lot of activities after school.
Okay.
Right. But right now we in transition because we left from New York to go to Pennsylvania. So we're trying to get settled. So we should do a lot of things out of after school. Right. So he still have that engagement with other students, and he still allows him to release himself. right?
Okay.
And a lot of energy, right? So on the weekends, he's very busy. After school, he's very busy. So that's how we kind of trying to keep some type of balance.
So you're working with your local school system as a homeschool kid that gets to play sports through the school system, or is it through youth programs?
No, youth programs. Everything
Okay.
is outside youth programs.
And then it depends on the area you're in. I do know some counties that will allow homeschoolers to be a part of their organized team at their school.
Yes, my school system does it as well.
Yeah,
They do have one requirement where you technically have to take one course at the school. And on our team last year, we had a homeschooled baseball player who did it, and he took weightlifting, and they allow that to be the one course.
Oh, wow. Okay. That was cool. Gotcha. So yeah, there are definitely ways to do it, both through youth programs, summer programs, whether it's I know basketball a little better than football. Obviously, with, what do you call it? I'm going to get the name wrong again.
AAU.
Yeah, with AAU, for sure. They have all kinds of programs, and for basketball, the number of kids get recruited to college through AAU. They didn't even play high school ball. So it happens for basketball for sure, and baseball. Not as
It's a little different in football, though.
Yeah, I know. For football, it's a little different. High school is everything. So I do get it. But as in anything else, to me, a kid that's unschooled has more flexibility to do those things because they're dictating their own schedule. And they can shape their day according to what works for them. And so that means, like you said, in your particular case, they have to take a class and then, schedule practice in the afternoon. That works. But one thing that I did want to go, and this kind of ties into this as well, like about the math, it's the math curriculum that you had your son working on as well. There are, and this goes to the bigger picture of success, how we measure it. There are grown folks who went to college from being unschooled. There are many. We actually had a conversation with some last year, I think it was during the summer, where we had a guy who went to business school. We have had a woman who's successful glass blower. That's what she wants to do, but has been unschooled all her life. So the success stories for you, because for me, that's what I had to see. How does unschooling work on the other end? And so we have kids who know what they want to do. Have a son here, wants to be an engineer, knows that he has to take certain maths and has to be at a certain math proficiency level, even to get into college to go to be an engineer. So what do? Of course, bring in a tutor, send him to class. We're talking about obviously working on doing dual enrollment for college so he can just make the transition from an associate's degree right into a full-time 4-year school. There are ways, and it's all about planning. If that's what the kid wants to do, well, you help them map that out and explain to them, you want to be X, these are the steps to get there. And I don't mind giving you those tools, whether it's a tutor, whether it's, here's the curriculum, because your math has to be at a certain level to even be considered for engineering, a doctor, going into law school, whatever those professional careers are. There is a path. And so you start talking about those ways early on. And the beauty is you're allowing them to figure that out now, opposed to when they're trying to find college. To me, we're late on that game, or the society's regular way of going to college is late on that schedule. But those are just ways to kind of maneuver within the things. Is your hand still raised, Keith? That's
No. Let me get it off. Sorry.
Okay. And Maxine, you did. Were you going to comment on that?
I was gonna comment on that. You said most of it.
Okay.
But it's all good. But I would have to, give my 2 cents, because as I said, my parents tried to do something different. I went to public school growing up, but I wanted to do things that weren't necessarily, they didn't have the resources at my school. So I played sports. I played basketball, I played soccer, track, and I went to a D1 school on track, and I had not run for my high school track team because they weren't trash. So So I ran for like another team at another school, but I did a lot of study of when I was playing soccer or basketball. I did a lot of study, and my parents allowed me to do that study to understand how different plays were created, like to do different training. So I met with one older kid that was in high school, and I used to train with him when I was in middle school. So like, there's all these options that you can like, if they're really excited about it, this is the time to let them do research and figure out how do you solve it. You know, that's what we've been doing with our little one, almost 2, saying like, you want to do this? How do you figure it out? You know, she has some beginning language to be able to figure it out, but like that's how we just started that critical thinking. How do you figure it out? How do you solve the world around you? Um, we got it, a lot of this inspiration from there's a show called Old Enough, where like it's from Japan, and they have little kids like 3, 4, 5 go on errands on their own. And we were really inspired by that because we're just seeing the independence in them to be able to figure out how to do things. When they want to do something, they have to figure it out. And they have to talk to somebody, they have to pay for something, they have to find out where to go. And so yeah, we just try to instill that kind of independence in a child. And I think that's the kind of the root of what I've learned about unschooling.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And you perfectly tied in, what we were saying. That's excellent. Thank you. If you gentlemen don't have anything else, I want, like I said, keep this as close to our hour as possible. And if it ran over, I just wanted to check to make sure everybody was good. If you want to go further, that's fine. But I wanted to bring Karima back in to kind of wrap us up. And some of the things that we were talking about, Keith, definitely the deschooling, decolonization coaching is crucial. The very things that you talked about, and getting some of those keys and helping you let go some of those ways comes through that coaching. And Karima is an excellent program to set up on how that works. And with that, my love, there you go.
So I really hope that this was meaningful to everyone. I really didn't hear any of it. I promise you, I was making dinner. But really thank all of you for being here. I wanted to give some updates about what's happening in community there where you can plug in. We really are interested in community members versus audience members. So first of all, if either Canadian David, or Cody, can one of you grab the link to our Mighty Networks and plug it in the chat if you guys haven't done that already? For anyone here who's not, everyone may be, but maybe not. So what's coming up? Well, what is this? This is February. Yeah. So our Genie-iverse community that meets in the metaverse, we are thriving. And I mean, I had so much fun with your children today. The time flew by. Tomorrow, Cooking Corporation is making lemon cake. Where's Keith? Yep, Keith's son, Justin, is leading us.
I'm looking forward to tasting that lemon cake.
And lemon cake. Now, I don't know how, I'm trying to lose these, COVID pounds. So all this food is really not helping my cause. You know what I'm saying? But we're having lemon cake tomorrow. Let's see what else. Book club is meeting tomorrow. We're doing 2 more chapters. What's getting created? And this is what I love. The kids are living their life, and wherever they see a need for something, they are proposing what should happen next. So tomorrow we have our mandatory community meeting. The only thing that we do is mandatory is our community meeting, which, by the way, David's Mr. Cat tried to derail. Just kidding. We had to talk about that. Well, what happens if you take away all the rules? I said, well, you guys can vote to do that. This is a democratic society, and I am here in service of you. So if you don't want the rules, vote them out. But as the need arises, PRN Learning, Pro Renata, as the need arises, they are meeting it. So Jason, Keith's son, recommended that we might want to have a YouTube corporation so they all can level up together. So that might get created tomorrow. Another learner suggested, she was aware during community meetings, she's having so much fun. She said, I want to add another day. And I said, another day? Really? What day do you want? And she said, Monday. And I said, oh, okay. So community is edging towards, we went from 2 days a week to now 3 days a week, starting in January. possibly now to 4 days a week because they see a need for it. So this coming Sunday, we have our event in our Genius Metaverse Conference Center, where it's called The Watering, where we are inviting our igniters, people who are thought leaders, people such as David in Philly. I'll send you the invitation, people who are on the leading edge of this work, to come and receive for a minute, because you do so much to pour out. And so this would be an opportunity for you to come and receive a sound bath, hear words of gratitude from community, and then hear some possible options that could solve some problems that may exist in the work that you do. We'll continue in our metaverse community for the rest of this year. Our in real life communities, we call them the IRLs. They are opening their doors this coming fall in Philly. So David in Philly, definitely want to talk to you about that. In San Francisco, here in Atlanta, and in Maryland. And we already have our 2 communities in Kampala, Uganda. Mind-blowing conversations. They are leading the conversation for decolonized parenting in a community, in a country where those words have never been spoken. And so it's fascinating to watch. If you are curious about Web3, then I invite you to check out our GenieI DAO. That's right, we did something crazy. And we created this thing called a decentralized autonomous organization. And I didn't do it last night, I wasn't feeling the best. What is today? On Monday, I think it was, I was supposed to host Meet Me at the Corner. I'm from Philly, right? So, you gotta yell up the street, you gotta do it just like that. And so Meet Me at the corner of Unschooling Avenue and Web3 Boulevard, where we talk about what is at that intersection. And David from Philly, you have Web3 folks that are trying to, recreate something that already exists. They're trying to pull a Christopher Columbus, and I'm like, not on my watch. So we're already here. So I would love to invite you to meet me at a Twitter space where we can have that conversation. And we could talk about how Web3 solutions can provide what it is that we're missing. And then we have our decolonized parenting coaching. Decolonizing parenting is at the root. I'm gonna say that again for the people in the back. For people way up in Canada, way down in Mexico, way over in California. Decolonizing parenting is at the root of this work. Without that, then this will not be sustainable. We will send our children to a school or a learning community that offers that autonomy, consent, and choice and voice, but they will exercise that at home. And unless we have cultivated that kind of relationship at home, then where we send them to school will not be sustainable. So during decolonizing parenting coaching, we talk about what's not working for you. And we invite you to invent a possibility. And then we begin every coaching session. How alive is that possibility? And we cheer you no matter what you say. You can say, oh, I'm at 85%. Oh, I'm at -2. Thankful it's not -75. Okay, we'll take it. I'll take -2. So that's a chance for you to invent a new possibility, a new way of being that matters most to you. And then I ask you, if you were being that, if you were being fun dad, if you were being creative, if you were being authentic as a family, what will you do? What will you do tomorrow? And you create a plan that matters most to you and your family, and we hold you accountable to that. And then finally, my final request is for you to make this your own community. What events do you want to host here with the Unschooling Dads? What topics do you want to talk about? This is your community. And it only exists because you are here and we are in service of you. So are there any final questions before I gotta go finish making my big ziti, you know what I'm saying, before my noodles all stick together and then I have one big hot ass mess. Any final questions that anyone might want to ask me before we adjourn? No questions? What? Are you sure? Y'all just tired? What time is it? 9 o'clock. Y'all a little tired? No final questions?
I got it.
Okay, great. Well, again, I'll let you guys close out, but really, thank you all for being here. Go tag another dad tag you're it. And I mean that, tag you, Keith, you are it. David in Philly, you are it. David in Canada, you are it. My man Abdul, you are it. Maxine, you are it. And babe, you always know that you are it. But yes, you are it. You are next. You are it. So go tag someone else. Go get another dad and bring them with you here to the next time. I'm gonna let y'all close out. My ZD is over there waiting for me. See y'all next time.
Thank you much. And that is a wrap for us. But what she was just saying, it's building this community. We are here. And just what you started off with, Keith, that you wanted to hear from other dads and how they feel. This is a supportive community. That's what we're trying to build and what we're trying to be about. So definitely post those questions, those concerns in the Mighty Networks group and hit us up. And then we will try to have one of these. We're trying to do it once a month. Got a little behind last month, but definitely want to do these at least once a month. Everybody has lives going on around them. So I'll try to be a little better in planning and putting it out ahead of time so you can put it on your calendar and so it's not a last minute thing. Though I'm so grateful that you all were able to make it. There might have been a few more that have been able to make it had I spaced it out a little more time. So if this time frame works for you all, I'll look for a time next month to schedule early on, probably by the first week of March. So we can put it in your calendar and be ready to go. But if there aren't any more questions, I thank you all for joining us and we look forward to the next conversation. Meet us on the Mighty Networks. Till then, you all take care.
Great talking,
Sounds good. Good
everybody.
night, gentlemen.
All
Hey,
right.
good night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.